I love self-care. Self-care is a very big. Maybe move the mic away from your mouth just while you're chewing, so we don't have to give an ASMR of twin snakes. If there is like a top 3 to 5, like if you had to make like a checklist for someone with ADHD, what would that self-care checklist be? This is why you watch our videos on YouTube, people, because there's snakes, there's dogs.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Squeeze. You have 2 Taylor Lautners.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, if you're new here, hello. Welcome to the little lemon drop community. That's what we call our group.
I don't know if everyone approved of that.
I think everyone did.
Yeah?
The feedback on social seemed
It's positive?
Yeah.
We're lemon drops?
Yeah. What do you guys think? Let us know.
Okay.
Let us know in the comment if you like
I like it.
the lemon drop. While you're down there, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. All the fun things to let us know how we're doing. But I'm very excited for this episode.
Bet you are, because you're about ready to learn.
Learn.
Your favorite.
On this episode, we have Dr. Sasha on, and her story is just crazy because she is a psychiatrist that specializes in ADHD, but she herself has ADHD.
Yeah.
Which I just think is like the coolest thing.
It is.
And just getting to hear her every day of having ADHD and also like helping people with it.
Yeah.
And teaching it. It's so personal to her. She's just a light, and we have.
That's why she's so passionate about it, and you can just tell when she talks about her job and helping people. It really, I've never I've never seen or heard of that before.
Yeah.
When somebody specializes and helps people that struggle with something.
Yeah.
When they themselves live with that same thing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah, we dove into all the statistics with her life as a mom now, growing up with it, her diagnosis, how she works professionally with it. But there was some crazy stats that she said. I don't want to say them because I literally freaked when she explained this. And I'm still blown away by it. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it because she dropped some good bombs about society and how we diagnose.
Oh, yes.
ADHD. You know what I'm talking about now?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Caught up.
Yeah. But yeah, this episode is so great. We are so thankful for Dr. Sasha for coming on.
Yeah.
I just love her. We had so much fun with her.
Yeah.
She's so
super
great.
Fun.
Yeah. So enjoy this episode.
Enjoy. We'll talk to you in a bit.
Dr. Sasha.
Hi.
Do you want us to call you Dr. Sasha?
You can call me literally whatever you want.
Doc?
Doc is cool. Doc is cool.
Doc
Sasha's
Sash.
cool. Yeah.
Welcome to the Squeeze.
Yay. I'm so excited to be here.
Woohoo. We are so excited.
We
We have lots of fun questions. I'm so excited to
Cannot wait.
your answers for. But first, we have this jar on our table. We play this little game called Cit-rus Got Real.
Ooh.
If you would like to grab a little piece of paper out of there.
I would.
All right.
Drum roll.
What is your favorite app on your phone?
That's a good question.
Okay, can I ask clarifying questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Like, what is the app I use the most? What is the most enjoyable app? What is... You're not going to get a simple answer out of me.
I would say...
Maybe your favorite.
Your favorite. So
the one that I enjoy the most.
And I would allow 2 answers here.
Okay.
One being your favorite and the one you enjoy the most, and one that you find the most helpful.
Ooh.
Oh, good question. Okay.
Mm.
You know what? I can I give you 3 answers?
Yep.
Yes. We'll allow it.
The one that I find most helpful, along with the rest of America, I'm sure, is the Notes app on my
Okay.
phone.
Ooh, that's good.
Always. Like
Yeah.
I'm constantly like afterwards looking back at my phone and these different Notes apps, it is like I just brain dump into those spots and
Yeah.
I use it all the time.
Okay. That's
Favorite app? Probably TikTok.
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Truly. It's enjoyable. It's
Yeah.
like I feel like it is a really responsive algorithm. And so like the stuff you really enjoy, you're going to be fed very efficiently.
Got
Yeah.
it.
And so you're getting stuff that is really like this personalized feed for you. And you're like, perfect mix of mental health and cat content.
Right.
Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that.
Okay.
great.
That's good. Yeah. Because on Instagram, sometimes I'm like, why is this coming up on my algorithm?
I know.
I mean, there's definitely stuff that makes sense, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from.
My third answer is an app I'm developing for ADHD management.
Yes.
But
We were
that's-
going to hit on that later.
See, then this was for a good purpose.
All right.
Heck yeah. It knew you were coming. The paper knew.
Cit-rus Got Real.
Yeah.
It knew. So that is technically on my phone, but it's in test flight stuff. But I love it and I'm obsessed with it and I use it all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Well,
We'll dive into that later.
we'll circle back to that later.
Okay. Hold that thought.
But for those of you that are listening that don't know Doc, Miss Sasha, I think your story is just so cool and it's so unique and you don't hear about it often. So you are a psychiatrist that specializes in ADHD,
Yes.
but you yourself also have ADHD.
That's why I specialized in it.
Okay, I was gonna ask, is that why? Did you like go?
Truly.
You like went to like? Did you know you like wanted to like become a doctor and do that?
When I started, I've known I wanted to be a doctor since I was 5. My mom's a pediatrician.
Oh,
And so I'm like, she's the happiest person in America.
Wow.
That's her. And so I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do too. But I went to med school with the intent to like kind of do that. And then when I was in med school is when I started like, this is really hard and what is happening to me. And I started struggling more with, I was diagnosed with ADHD, but I didn't really understand it or know about it.
Yeah.
And then I kind of struggled with it and had to work through it. And then when I was towards the tail end of medical school, I was like, I need to do psychiatry. I mean, this is really where my interest is. And then when I was in psychiatry residency, I really kind of niched down and focused more on that. And then that's what's kind of led me here.
Oh my gosh. That is just, it's so cool. Like such a full circle moment.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If I, if I had something or was wanted to talk about something specifically, I would feel very comforted knowing I'm talking to somebody who can completely relate to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's so true. That's such a good point. I didn't even think about that part
Yeah.
on the receiving end. I was just thinking about on her end.
Because you always talk to somebody who's like, gives great advice, but it's at their core.
Yeah.
They can't relate to it, but they have these tools and stuff to help you.
Yeah.
But it's a whole other level of talking to somebody who has those tips, tricks, and tools and the wisdom and the education and also can completely relate to what you're going through.
Yeah.
Lived experience. It makes a big difference, I think. I think that going through what I've gone through and like talking to patients, doing social media about it, I feel like I can relate to where they're coming from because I'm like, yep, that is a real thing.
Been there,
That's
done
what
that.
I've done then. Yeah. And so I think it has been, it's been a cool journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Lemon Drops, I have a question for you. When is the last time you did something self-care wise? When's the last time you took a moment for yourself? Maybe it was laying outside. Maybe it was a face mask or a facial. When was the last time you did something for yourself in that regard? Something that we try to incorporate into our self-care routine is ice baths and getting into that cold plunge and either getting our body in, soaking our face. You just did your face yesterday.
I did. Yeah, I just did my face. Sometimes I struggle a little bit.
With the full body.
Yeah, but every time I do commit to it,
Yeah.
I feel so incredible coming out of it, and it really just enhances your day just all around.
And there's so many benefits to it. It improves your mood, brain function, helps alleviate depression and anxiety, activates the nervous system, pain management, better recovery, and performance. I could literally go on. There's so many benefits to cold plunging and ice baths. But I've worked with Ice Barrel to get you guys an exclusive offer so you can try it and see for yourself if you like it as much as we do. There is a link in the show notes for you guys to check it out. We'll be sharing on socials as well. You can check out icebarrel.com/thesqueeze and use code thesqueeze to get an exclusive offer. Ice Barrel offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. So again, that is icebarrel.com/thesqueeze and use code thesqueeze to get an exclusive offer. Get colder, feel better, and let us know what you guys think.
For those that may not know a ton about ADHD,
Yes.
could you give us just like a breakdown
Yeah.
and just like explain a little bit in layman's terms?
Because we're going to talk about it a lot in this episode, so
Yeah.
we probably should set a little ground level.
Yeah.
So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition. So this is something that most times you're born with. It's genetically passed down. And it has three big hallmark features. And I'll break it down a little bit further. But inattentiveness, hyperactivity, impulsivity. And you can have one of those, you can have three of those, and it's all broken down into different categories. So there are three big types. There's the inattentive type. There is the hyperactive type. And then there's a combined type, which is like a combination of both. Inattentive is what it sounds like, right? If people are forgetful, they have difficulty organizing things, they have difficulty initiating tasks, they have difficulty with daily routine. It's typically how girls present, and not super disruptive, but if you notice it as like this ongoing pattern, obviously you could see how that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Hyperactive is more of like the physical and verbal impulsivity, like really fidgety, difficulty staying in your seat, difficulty keeping your hands to yourself, like verbally impulsive, like blurting out an answer or speaking on top of other people, oversharing. And then combined is obviously a combination of the two. So it's interesting seeing that like the different variations and shades of all of them and how they present differently with gender, how they present differently with age. It's just it's all very nuanced.
Yeah. I was going to ask, how old were you when you were diagnosed?
That's a complicated question. 4th grade is technically when I was diagnosed.
Okay.
There's a whole story with that. Do you want me to tell you that story?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
We're not leaving.
Okay. All right. 4th grade, substitute teacher. I started a coup in my classroom. I got all the other kids to stand up on their desks and start like chanting at the. You're looking at me like I did something.
I'm very excited.
Are you?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm drawn in.
I'm there. I'm on the desk with you.
It's so like substitute teacher was like, no. And then talked to my teacher. My teacher was like, oh yeah, we've seen this. Like this is like a pattern of behavior. She's disruptive. Like she messes up the flow of the classroom. And so they talked to my parents. My mom, pediatrician, gets me in to get evaluated. The pediatrician was like, I get treated right away. So I was started on medication. At that time, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I am old. It was a time where ADHD wasn't really talked about, especially for girls.
Right.
I'm still pretty stigmatized. And I was a sensitive kid and my parents didn't really know how to broach that with me.
Yeah.
So they're like, here, take this. It's a vitamin that's going to help you with school. And it's going to help you focus and it's going to help you. So I was like, cool, man. So I'd take that and I'd take my Flintstone vitamin and I'd go on my way. I did well enough and stopped being disruptive and no more coups. Got out of high school, did well enough that I could get into medical school right out of high school. And then that was the first time I was away from home. And that was when kind of wheels came off because I stopped taking my vitamin.
Oh.
and I was like, what happened to me? Like, I feel like I have a stroke. Like, I went from being a pretty solid achiever in high school
Yeah.
to being the bottom of my class by a lot. And
Wow.
the first neurobiology test I had, I got a 32%, which is very bad.
Yeah.
And the reason was the first front of the page, I missed one question. I forgot to flip over the page and I turned in the test. And so the second half of the page so I went to my teacher and I was like, this was a stupid mistake. I'm so sorry. Clearly this wasn't. And he was like, you're going to learn from this or you're not.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, okay. And so I was like,
Brutal.
something is wrong because I keep making these like, I feel like everybody else is kind of smooth sailing and I feel like I'm getting smoked by like these little errors that keep adding up and making my life impossible.
Right.
So I got to a point where I was like, this is just so hard. Like, I cannot do this. And my parents at that point were like, you ain't doing so hot. Like, just come home. We'll talk about it. Let's course correct. But we need to figure out what's going on. And so I came home and my dad was like, we need to talk about ADHD. We need to talk about what this is because I think this. And I was like, there's no way. I don't have it. Like, boys have that. I don't have it. Rebelled against the medication. Tried again, tried super hard. And it like nothing would connect or work. I would try different things every time I tried to study. And like, I just had no foundational knowledge. And it was just so hard to work. What I felt is like twice as hard as everybody else, but only go 50% of the way.
Right.
That's what I felt like. I was just like, what is a disconnect? So then I was like, I just need to go home. Like I want to leave school. I don't want to do this anymore. And so my dad and I just just absolutely bunkered down for a week and did nothing but look at ADHD. We looked at like what the name meant, what the neurobiology was. And he's not a physician. He was just like in it with me, like researching. And he's like, did you look at this? I'm like, yeah, did you see this? And like, we really, really, really deep dove into it. And I think he did. And my mom also did such a good job allowing me to like float around in that space and find my own way.
Yeah.
And maybe I wasn't ready for it when I was like in fourth grade, it just wasn't talked about and I wouldn't have been like ready.
Yeah.
Or I might have, I don't know. But that was the spot where I was like, okay, my brain is different. I'm wired differently. What can I do to make this journey better? And then I feel like I never quite got out of that hole in med school because I was still kind of like climbing and trying to survive at the end and like reconfiguring and figuring out like, what are my tools?
Yeah.
But then in residency, I was surrounded by psychiatrists and therapists because I was in psychiatry residency. And that's when they were like, okay, you have a great foundation. Let's work on skills. Let's work on like how to build from here. This is how you eat. This is how you sleep. I know I just gave you a bag full of candy, but I eat better than that normally. Like just basics of like stuff that I feel like humans shouldn't have such a hard time learning.
Yeah.
But I was like, that never occurred to me.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to exercise for your brain to work better?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that.
Wow.
That was a long answer.
Well,
I love that answer.
it's a good answer because it's a perfect segue into my next question.
Okay.
I was wondering if you think, or maybe there's studies that show this, or maybe I'm just making this up, but do you think ADHD is more prevalent in our society today than maybe 10, 15 years ago? And if so, why do you think that is?
Okay, again, like you guys can't ask me questions because I give super complicated, annoying answers every time.
I'm here to learn.
They're great. They are not annoying at all. These are great answers.
So I think that right now we are in a spot where I don't think the rate of ADHD is any different.
Okay.
I think people have had ADHD. I think we're diagnosing it more. I
Right.
think we're talking about it more. I think we're finding it more.
Right.
So I don't think there's more of it. I think we're just more aware of it.
Yeah.
But that is nuanced in that, like, I think the next reasonable question is like, is it overdiagnosed? Like, if it's coming about more, is it overdiagnosed or underdiagnosed? And I think that's based on population, right? I think there's a huge population that is underdiagnosed, right? Because of racial bias or socioeconomic bias or stuff like that, where you don't think about ADHD first.
Yeah.
And so because of those systems in place, they're getting fully ignored and they're having to kind of suffer alongside of other people that are getting diagnosed more than they should be.
Yeah.
Because this is like, oh, okay, this is going to help with school. This is going to help give them resources and things like that. So it depends.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think, I might say this backwards, so correct me if I say it backwards. I know you've done like a lot of videos on like how ADHD can bring about depression. Am I saying that in the correct order?
Yeah.
Do you think there is people that maybe get diagnosed with like depression or anxiety, but not ADHD because of like how it's presenting?
Yes. Especially women. Especially women. So women present as like the inattentive type primarily. So difficulty focusing, foggy, difficulty remembering details, difficulty with initiating tasks. So a lot of times it's like, oh, they're depressed. They, they don't have a whole lot of motivation. You want to sleep all the time, or you don't sleep enough, and so what happens is that for females, they're experiencing these ADHD symptoms. They flow by in school and they're cool. They're getting passed along grade by grade because they're not bothering anybody except themselves.
Yeah.
They get passed along. Puberty happens. Their ADHD symptoms gets worse because there's a drop in estrogen. So there's a drop in dopamine, and physiologically, their ADHD symptoms are worsening. At that point, what happens? Everybody's like, they're hormonal, they're bitchy, it's a mood problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's not a mood problem. It's a worsening of ADHD. So then they kind of go along and either they start birth control or they start like an antidepressant, or they start something like that. And then they get into further in their lives, and then they're starting their own families, or they're doing things like that. And the stakes are just higher.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, now they've already kind of operated at such a deficit. Now you add these extra stressors on, and it's just like this, okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So for females, you're getting diagnosed, your average age of getting diagnosed are mid-30s. And for males, it's 7 or 8.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a age gap.
Yeah. It's horrendous. And it's because of a lot of reasons, but I think that there's a lot of providers themselves don't know a whole lot about ADHD and but we're just not, even in psychiatry residency, you're not taught that unless you're like, I have ADHD. I have to seek out this information. Otherwise I will die. This is like, I need to know. It's just not very commonly talked about. So then you have this whole like generations of doctors that are skipping symptoms because they don't know.
Yeah.
You're not hyper. You're not disrupting the class. And so people are getting like kind of ignored generationally until they have a son and they have their son, and their son is exhibiting symptoms, and they're like, oh, I have that. And then
Right. Jeez Louise.
I love moments like that where my brain is just like, whoa. Like, I feel like I just heard like the most profound thing ever, which is very true. I want to talk about the note of on kids. For parents that are listening, we kind of touched on it, but what are kind of like the signs and symptoms of like that present in children that parents should maybe like be on the lookout for if they're maybe questioning it? Like, what would those be?
I mean, pretty similar. I think that when you're at a young age, what's difficult is trying to figure out like, is this normal kid stuff?
Yeah.
Are you a hyper little kid?
Yeah.
Or are you ADHD hyper? Like, what are we dealing with? And I think that a lot of that, you're looking at 2 different environments. You're looking at home and you're looking at school.
Right.
You don't really know what's happening at school.
Yeah.
And that's a really good litmus test of like, what is my kid's level of functioning? So for people that are even remotely concerned about ADHD, I recommend talk to your teachers.
Right.
Talk to your teachers. What are you seeing in school?
Yeah.
What have you, these teachers have gone through it. They have seen classroom over classroom. They know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And I feel like they know what they're looking for almost better than some of these physicians do because they're seeing them in this organic environment. They're seeing them comparatively to peers.
And thousands of kids in the same environment. They'll notice those differences.
And this is why I'm horrified about my behavior towards a substitute teacher. I'm indebted to teachers forever. And I was an ass. So I feel like that's a number one step, like open dialogue. Talk to your teachers, talk to your primary care doctor, talk to your psychiatrist, talk to those avenues that you have in place if you have them in place. Because you shouldn't have to make that decision or figure out the diagnosis on your own. You're not trained for that. That's not your job.
Yeah.
I don't think a parent should have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, if you have even an inkling or a suspicion, find someone trained. Make them do it.
Yeah.
Make
them do the work.
Yeah.
Okay, over here at the Squeeze, we are big advocates for comfort. But
if you don't know that by now,
just as important as comfort is aesthetic.
Oh.
A nice aesthetic is just so pleasing.
But can we marry the two?
Can we marry the two? And we can. With Jenny Kane. Oh my gosh, summer's approaching, and Jenny Kane embodies the California dream. Their site is just you guys need to look at it. Click the link below in the show notes.
Definition of aesthetic.
Yeah, their clothes, their home line, just everything is so aesthetically pleasing. They make the perfect gift, but yeah, everything is just aesthetic and simple, and their pieces are good. We actually wear some of their stuff quite often.
Yeah. Remember those slippers too?
Oh my gosh, you love those slippers.
Are incredible.
Yeah.
Those slippers make a great gift.
Great gift.
Yeah, if you know anybody that has a birthday or anything coming up.
Or if you want to treat yourself to a little...
Yes, or if it's self-care day.
Yeah, a little summer self-care treat yourself day.
Yeah.
So find your forever pieces at jennykane.com. Our listeners get 15% off your first order. Use code THESQUEEZE at checkout. That's 15% off for your first order at Jenny, Jenni, Kane, KAYNE.com. Promo code THESQUEEZE. I also want to know just how you feel as a mom with ADHD. How has that been for you?
Being a mom is by far the best thing I've ever done. Like my favorite thing. And I knew in my brain that I wanted kids.
Yeah.
But I think as I was struggling in medical school, I was like, how am I going to swing this?
Yeah.
This is going to be hard. If I can't keep on top of basic fundamental human staying alive stuff, how am I going to keep small children alive? And so I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of trepidation around that. And so it's been wonderful, and it's been challenging because it's really exposed a lot of the areas where I have deficits. I think I'm lucky in that I have a partner who is a really open communicator about that kind of stuff and helps me with that process. And so on a fundamental daily level, the tasks that for me, I feel like my ADHD really inhibits me on the day-to-day grind. I have a hard time remaining consistent, and that's what kids need.
Yeah.
They need that consistency to build structure and move forward. So I am more like let's plan the events, let's set up appointments, let's do this stuff. But on the day-to-day grind, my husband kind of picks up the pieces and keeps it kind of organized with me.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people don't have a David. I would suggest getting a David. He's very helpful. But it's having a good partner is wonderful for people that are doing that journey alone or who don't have a partner that they can rely on as a secondary brain, because that's truly what he is.
Yeah.
He's more than that. But that's what that's such a vital role that he provides. People that are doing it alone, or that don't have that support, I feel like one of the most important things to do is recognize your own patterns. Because what you're trying to do is, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're teaching to generations below you. You won't know what you're passing on to your kids. So if you even take that step to recognize where's the hole? Where's the deficit? What do I need to work on?
Yeah.
You can do that alongside while you're teaching your kids.
Mm.
But it's when people don't know that it's just being passed along, and kids are seeing that, they assume that that's normal and they keep doing it. And that's when you have to work hard at kind of knowing yourself,
Yeah.
which is good advice for all parents, I think.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Know yourself.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dating with ADHD. How, if there's like, I don't know, something for someone that's trying to find their person, is struggling with it, maybe advice that like you can give a friend that is struggling with like trying to find their person or like be in relationships.
Yeah. It's a really good question.
Yeah, that's what kind of came to mind.
So ADHD and relationships is something I talk about so much online because I feel like no one talks about it. Like people, when they think about ADHD, they think about focus. And that's like the only thing they think about.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the emotional side of things. They don't talk about the interpersonal side of things. They don't talk about any of those things that I feel like are so intrinsic to the human condition.
Yeah.
So with the unique things that you have to think about with ADHD and relationships, there's only a couple of them. Number one, it is that emotional dysregulation. So ADHD at its basis, your brain is moving super fast. You're getting a whole bunch of data, and that's why it's easy to lose track of things. That's why it's hard to focus on one thing at a time. But that isn't just for information, that's for emotions as well.
Yeah.
So you are dealing and feeling and experiencing a lot of different things all at once. The other thing is impulsivity. And that's a big one, right? Because I think what the ADHD brain is kind of seeking is dopamine regulation. You want, and dopamine is that reward chemical. So you want to feel good. You want to do things that's going to make your brain feel kind of on steady ground.
Yeah.
And so that's where you probably have heard the term like dopamine seeking behavior. And so like you get a lot of dopamine in the beginning parts of a relationship and you know, being, you know, physically intimate with your partner and, you know, all those other great dopamine releasing things. But sometimes when you are on like steady ground with your partner, it's been a while, you guys have been dating for a while, people with ADHD, and I know that I've struggled with this too. It's almost like you're like, nothing's going wrong. I feel bored by this relationship. What is happening? And like there's number one, there's either an urge like I need to kind of shake things up because that's like interesting to me. And maybe it's like an unconscious thing. Or it's like there is a problem here because we've fallen into a pattern when it's not a problem. It's just not chaotic for the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
And so my advice would be just like the advice with parenting is to know your patterns. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you have a hard time translating that to another person.
Yeah.
The other important thing is to communicate. Because I think that I think that if you don't, with ADHD, it's always kind of a dicey thing because I think like as a culture, we didn't talk about it for a long time. Oh my God, you're so cute.
Lily just laid her head over.
Her head's so warm too.
Yeah, she's really warm.
Oh my God, you darling. So it is like we didn't talk about it for a long time. And so we have just it's an awkward thing to kind of bring up. Like but I think if you don't bring it up, it opens the window of like interpretation. So like if I'm not texting you, you're going to think I'm thoughtless, that I don't care about you, that I don't, you know, like that I don't respect our friendship or our relationship enough to respond. But really what happened is I got distracted by something. I'm trying to resolve an issue and then I forgot about the text. And now I'm like, or then what happens is now I've seen that I've done that. I'm so worried about your response that I'm scared to respond to you now. It's like, it's so multifaceted. So when people like accuse people of being thoughtless, I'm just like, I wish you understand. I've never been thoughtless in my life. I have too many thoughts. Always. So I've thought about it in 100 different directions before. So I think it's just like, if you can, in an early spot in the relationship, explain like, listen, I have ADHD. And there is some stuff that within a relationship has been problematic in the past. Like I'm not super great at responding. I'm not super good at looking like I'm fully engaged, even though I'm trying my best. So I want you to know that ahead of time. I'm trying. You like when you see that, correct me because I'm working on it and I want you to be aware of it, but it's not a volitional thing. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to ignore you.
Yeah.
And that diffuses the situation. And you'd be surprised, like 99% of people don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, they'll have the fight first.
Yeah.
And then when you're using that explanation later, when you use that in a fight, then it's an excuse.
Yeah.
Right? People think like, well, that's just an excuse. I've never heard that before.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you open with that and say, I have experienced and struggled with this in the past, and I just want to give you a heads up going into it.
Then you've laid that groundwork.
Yeah.
That's like setting that thing, and it diffuses so many situations moving forward.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's still going to be small things coming up, but it's like, okay, that's where we start from.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. That was eye-opening for some of our friends and relationships and really made a lot of things make sense and makes me want to, go about it differently.
Yeah.
And-
Go about how we like approach helping them or giving them advice or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to how cool and profound it is, I think it is, and it is. You yourself having ADHD and helping people with
Yeah.
ADHD. We talk on the podcast a lot about, we have, people on that say these things that just like hit us or hit me. And I'm like, wow, like I never thought about it that way. Like maybe that's why I do something. Maybe that's like, and they're just these aha moments.
Totally.
Have you ever had, aha moments with clients that has really just like hit you over the head and you've been like, wow, that's just maybe that, like, has it ever taught you something?
Always.
Okay.
Every single day, I feel like I have something. But like now that you're asking me, I cannot think of a single example. I will.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like I have that phenomenon where I'm experiencing, because I think that psychiatry is, if anybody's listening, psychiatry is the best part of medicine.
Mm.
Objectively, it just is. Because for anyone that is, attuned, like you're not only helping the person, you're helping the circle around them as well, because
Yeah.
their mental health is impacting. It has just such a ripple effect on everything that people are around.
Yeah.
And so that is so rewarding. And so as you kind of help people navigate through their human experience, you're also doing it for yourself. So a lot of their struggles, you're like, I've had this, I've dealt with this. I know that experience. I know that feeling. And there's a level as a psychiatrist where you don't want to, you're not pushing your experience on them. You don't want to like overshare or over disclose or do stuff like that, because this is about them. They're not here to help me go through it.
Yeah.
But you think about it later and you're like, what this girl was saying about, I will give you an example.
Okay.
I had a patient last week who was talking to me about, I was having this experience where I was looking for my person, right? And I got out of a long relationship and now I'm looking for my person. And I feel like I am constantly getting dates and being surrounded by people, surrounded by friends, and I feel alone.
Mm.
I feel alone. I feel like I'm in a room of people and I'm constantly going on dates, but I'm the only person in the room. And I was like, that's such an interesting phenomenon, because what you're describing is like at the heart of loneliness, right? It's this concept of, even if you're surrounded by people,
Yeah.
you're alone.
Yeah.
And that I think that's it's a fundamental, like Surgeon General just put out this huge advisory about loneliness,
Yes.
talking about how there's health deficits that come with that.
Yeah.
And so what she was describing to me, she never said the word loneliness or anything like that.
Mhm.
She was like, there's something wrong with me. It's chemical. They're like my antidepressant isn't working or something. And what she was describing was loneliness,
Yeah.
which is part of the like human experience. And it was like an aha moment where I was like, okay, I'm now realizing that's what she's talking about. I recognize that feeling because I've had that before.
Yeah.
And so how do I use that as like, how do I help educate her that it's not something chemically or pathologically wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that humans deal with and we have to kind of learn how to maneuver.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
How do you go about that? What is the advice for that?
I think it's being aware of that. And for a lot of people, it is understanding what fills your cup, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
where you like, because a lot of people, the answer to loneliness isn't necessarily quantity of relationships, it's
Yeah.
quality,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So if you are like, I feel lonely, and maybe you don't even recognize I feel lonely,
Right.
Yeah.
but a lot of times what I hear is, I don't want to be alone.
Mm.
So now you're going to a bar with a bunch of people. You don't know these people.
Yeah.
And so you still feel that intrinsically. But maybe it's like, it's not, if you don't want to feel alone, maybe it's you FaceTime your mom or you meet up with a group of friends that you really connect with or
Yeah.
or something like that, where you're exploring what is the true connection and benefit that you're getting from that rather than just being around
Yeah.
a human.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
I've had like 7 aha moments.
I bet you have.
Profound moments. Okay. So you recently released a book
Yeah.
called Self-Care for People
I
with
brought
ADHD.
it for you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's Taylor or Tay. It's in there.
Okay.
Also bring the twin snakes if you get it. It's I wanted to write in it, but I
Let me
couldn't
grab it.
find a pen.
You're only grabbing it because you want the candy.
Yeah, you want the twin snakes. Yeah. Thank you. Do you want a twin snake? I will give you one.
Yeah, sure,
Here.
why not?
Twin? Is that what?
Have you not had these?
No.
Okay, one side is sweet and one side is sour. My baby
Oh.
cousin just showed them to me, and they're shout out to Mary Helen.
Oh.
My first
Oh, I get it. One snake is sour.
one's
I get it.
sour.
Twin snakes.
Snack break.
Mm-hmm.
Sour.
Maybe they're both kind of sweet and sour. Or is there a distinction between the snake?
Oh no, there was a
Mhm.
yeah. This one was much.
Mm-hmm.
This
Okay.
was- yeah. Oh, that's cool. Never heard of those.
Well, they're in your gas station, so
Okay.
hit it up.
We got to hit that gas station. But I love self-care. Self-care is a very big. Maybe move the mic away from your mouth just while you're chewing, so we don't have to give an ASMR of twin snakes. I love self-care. We love self-care. That's like just something that has really helped
Remy.
my mental health. Rem, leave it.
No twin snakes for you.
If there is like a top 3 to 5, like if you had to make like a checklist for someone with ADHD, what would that self-care checklist be? This is why you watch our videos on YouTube, people, because there's snakes, there's dogs.
Okay, so I'm trying to get to the book.
Ram, lay down.
Here.
Lay down.
So I feel like, first of all, I think in order to answer that question, I need to kind of reframe self-care, right?
Yeah.
Because I think self-care is broader than just like what you think of, right? Because before I wrote this, I was like, self-care is bubble baths and manicures and like that.
Yeah.
But I think self-care is like, what do you do to truly take care of yourself, to nurture you from the inside? And for ADHD, I think that some of those fundamental things are like on truly taking the time to understand what ADHD is. I think that's a huge act of self-care. Because with that, you're going to give yourself grace. You're going to be able to experience your symptoms in a way that is neutral without judgment.
Yeah.
You're able to kind of make decisions and not feel like this is happening independently of like this totally chaotic environment. So that would be my number one self-care tip. Just
Mm.
understand yourself. Number two, would probably be how to talk to others about it. So
Mm.
understanding your environment, but I think a self-care tip is understanding what is your community and what is your support
Yeah.
and how to explain that to them in a way that's going to support you, in a way that you're not going to feel shame about it, and in a way that keeps it in a cohesive unit rather than like, that's what I feel like a lot of times when people are explaining ADHD, it's again like in that defensive manner. Like some blow up has happened.
Yeah.
And now you're like kind of using that ADHD to explain your internal environment, but the other people are like, I have never heard of this.
Yeah.
So I think a self-care kind of thing is educating the people in the circle around you to be like, hey, this is what's going on. And that's why I felt really strongly about writing that chapter. First of all, chapters in this book are like 2 paragraphs long. They're
Love that.
easy little chunks. But like I wrote, so when I'm saying I wrote a chapter, I wrote 2 paragraphs on it. So I wrote that part of the book because I felt like everywhere I was looking, where I was trying to, like, even when I was looking at prior to writing the book, like how do you do self-care for ADHD? It was like just stuff that I mean, there's some stuff in there too, but it was like, make sure you sleep at the right time or take yourself out on a date. And I'm like, no, okay. But all right, done, checked, but that doesn't help me
Yeah.
longitudinally. And so I felt like how to talk to your circle was an important thing of like validating that this is truly for you to make your life easier to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, I even feel that with like updating because I mean, we've been so busy, but recently I was like with my girlfriends and I literally was just like, I'm like going through it right now. I'm sorry I'm not like present and like having just like open communication with them in that regard. I feel like it's just like makes the whole like what is it? Greases the wheel. Just it keeps it moving better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, before we have a couple Lemon 11 questions, let's go back to what we were talking about in the beginning.
Yes.
Your app.
Yes.
Yay!
Oh my gosh. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with it. Number one. But I'm obsessed with it because like I feel like the app kind of came about before I was writing this book. I was like, how am I going to get information to people about ADHD in a way that is actually usable, right? Like that people with ADHD are actually going to enjoy learning about ADHD and actually have tools to help them.
Yeah.
And I was like, an app, we're all on our phones. That's just so much easier. So I got my sister involved and we like started going through this process of developing an app, and it's been so hard.
Yeah.
It's so impossible because I'm not technical at all.
Yeah.
But this firm has been helpful. And like we developed an app that I've been using every day for almost a year now. And it's got these short little educational modules about ADHD that are just like, it feels like you're just swiping through social media, just like little swipe throughs. You learn a little bit. There's a mindfulness area where you get to like kind of journal like with guided prompts. And if you're like, that's a little bit too hard for me, you could put a picture, you can put a voice recording. There's a to-do list that is broken down. You can voice record that too. So that's how I've been like kind of brain dumping before bed. I'm like, this is what I need to do. And then my to-do list will figure it out. As you kind of progress, there's a focus tracker, which talks about like, this is what my mood is like. This is what my hydration like. This is what my food intake was like. So as you go through, like one of the most important things that I keep screaming about is knowing your patterns.
Yeah.
And so this is nice because it tracks it for you. So if you're like, I had a horrible day today, you can go back and be like, I did not have a single sip of water.
Yeah.
And I didn't, so you can track how you're doing. You have these personalized insights. It's gamified. It's like fun to use, and it's like incentivized. And as you keep learning and building habits, you earn more coins and badges, and you like go through.
Wow.
It's just so fun.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's the best, guys. It's called Focus Genie. It's like another 6 weeks from being out. Wait,
it was close. Okay. A lot of work has gone into this. 6 weeks is like.
Oh my gosh. thank you for saying that. It's been like completely ready to go since February. And so
Okay.
like every time I talk about it, people are like, where is it? Where is it?
Yeah.
And so thank you for saying it's close. Yes, 6 weeks is close. We
Wow.
had to slow it down because we had to do it so that we could handle a lot of load on the first days because I didn't want it to like crash
Yeah.
first day. So that we've had to rebuild and test and rebuild and test and rebuild and test. So that's where we are. But it's done and we're 6
Wow.
weeks out.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, by the time this airs,
Yeah.
we'll be close.
Yeah.
Even closer.
Yeah. If you're
Yes.
listening or watching right now.
We'll leave the link to it.
That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
in the
Yeah.
caption.
Yeah. Because it could be out.
It
Could be out.
You never know.
Or it might be coming. Might be coming.
You have anything else before we ask a couple lemon
No,
questions?
I'm excited for 6 weeks to come or
Yeah.
whenever this airs.
I know. I'm
because
like, I'm gonna download that.
Yeah, I want to get
It's not
coins.
just for people with ADHD. It's
Yeah.
just like super fun and easy and productivity and like got my sister to use it, my mom to use it. Like while they were making you guys kebabs, just using the app.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Okay, do you want to ask a couple lemon 11s?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, sure. Where should we start?
I don't know.
Okay,
Do you like any of these?
yeah, I'll kick it off.
Okay, great.
What is your personal favorite form of self-care?
Oh, such a good one. I would honestly say exercise.
Okay.
But I'll tell you a weird caveat for that.
Okay.
So for a long time, it took me a long time to figure out an exercise I liked because I've never had a runner's high.
Yeah.
I pretty much hate every sport I've ever done. Like I'm bad at them. And finally I got into like yoga, which like transitioned into Pilates. But I think the shift for me is like for a majority of my life, I would work out because I'm like, this is going to make me hot. Like this is going to get me ready for summer. This is why I need to work out.
Yeah.
Once I started to distance myself from that and started to be like, when I exercise, my brain works better.
Yep.
That my goal completely shifted and that I actually became consistent with exercise once it was that. Because having a hot bod didn't motivate me at all. I'm like, I like twin snakes better than that.
Yeah.
It's not going to help me.
Yeah.
I would immediately eradicate my process. But if I'm like, I can think clearer, I can think longer, I can think like on multiple things at a time without getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That's what exercise is helpful for.
Yeah.
So that would be my self-care.
That's great advice because then it's worth every second.
Totally.
Where like, yeah, you lose motivation. Like I know exercise for me came in waves. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'd hop on the train because, you know, I wasn't liking how I was looking. And then when you get happy about it, then you fall off the train. And it's
Yeah.
like, if that's the only reason you're doing it, you're not going to be consistent.
Or sustain. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's good for your brain.
I will ask, what is the greatest advice you've ever received?
I mean, I think it's applicable for a lot of different things, but I was told pretty early when I was getting onto social media, don't try to be like somebody else. Like it's been done. Other people are other people.
Yeah.
Like don't try to copy their style or do that. They already are doing their thing. You're going to be a copy of them. Just lean in and be yourself to the best of your ability. And I wish like someone had told me that in my 20s because I feel like I spent so much time and energy just trying to be someone else at all times, or like suppressing and hiding parts of myself so that I'm like more palatable.
Yeah.
And that was like, to me now looking back on that, I feel like that was a huge waste of time, like
Right.
and energy. Like why that, but at that time I felt like it was like necessary and a survival mechanism. But if someone had told me that earlier and I had truly like been able to hear it, man, it saved me so much time.
Yeah.
How open are you with people in your life when you're struggling?
Honestly, a lot more open than I used to be.
Yeah.
And I think that I got a lot more open, honestly, after kids, because I think it wasn't really a sustainable thing. Like I just could not hide it as much. Like previously, just like at that time I was trying to be someone else. There was a lot of guilt and shame about not doing well. I'd be like, I have to be put together because that everybody else assumes that I'm put together.
Yeah.
But then when kids came, I was like, okay, this isn't just impacting me, it's impacting them. I need to allocate resources for this and get myself at least out of this hole enough that I can support them and build a life for them. And so I don't have a second to waste here. I need someone to kind of help early rather than when I'm in a hole.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I feel like that my emphasis kind of shifts. So I'm a lot more open about it now. But I will tell you, for a huge chunk of my life, a majority of my life, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Last little question. How has your career impacted your well-being?
I want to ask you the same question. So it fluctuates, right? So my career, I think, overwhelmingly, and I'm talking about my career as a psychiatrist. So like as a mental health provider, overwhelmingly, I feel like it's super rewarding. I feel like helping people in their time of need and gathering kind of data and resources and getting them to a spot which is like safer and healthier. Like it's a dream job. That's amazing. And I feel like it gives me a lot of validation, and it's like a very corrective form of therapy for me, right? It's
Yeah.
like, this is great. This is what I should be doing too. And it's like continues to encourage me to apply what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I do think that during pandemic, it was so hard to be
Yeah.
a psychiatrist. It was
Mhm.
so hard. And to be a mental health provider and to be a doctor and to be a nurse and to be on the front lines of anything during that time, I feel like my well-being was possibly one of its lowest,
Yeah.
just because I was like, and I wasn't even seeing patients in person, but because of this heightened anxiety and collective trauma around COVID,
Yeah.
people were so sick. They were so like, it was so difficult to navigate that and keep my cup filled.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I was constantly drained, and I like there was times like December of 2020 was like some of the hardest. Like I had my son in March of 2020, so I was still like real hormonal.
Wow.
And so I'm breastfeeding and I'm emotional and work is hard and winter is like coming. These people, their moods are tanking. We're still wiping down our groceries.
Yeah.
Like it was just a crazy time.
Yeah.
And there would be times where I would just like be like, this is too, I can't keep all these balls in the air. And my husband would be, so wonderful and kind of trying to like take care of the baby so I didn't have to do as much. But I feel like that's something that the burnout experience of just anybody in the medical field, it's something that I'm just now starting to crawl out of appropriately.
Yeah.
And I think I'm able to do that because I've distanced myself a little bit and I've done social media, which is like engaging and creative.
Yeah.
So it's given my brain a little bit of a break from that. But there's a lot of people who don't have that.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's a huge thing. And I know you had that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going through, I can't even imagine being a nurse going through. I mean, you were right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't envy either of your situations. And it is just so important to set aside whatever it is to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing I had to learn was to like how to care for myself.
Yeah.
Because I never like struggled with my mental health before, like personally. So after that, it was like,
Okay.
oh, I'm really struggling now. Okay, well, this is new.
Yeah.
What do I do about this? But
Yeah. And it's so hard for you to like say no to things, no to people because you
Yeah.
feel like you're letting somebody down. But in the reality of it, you have to remember, well, if you burn yourself out and you can't do this anymore, then you're going to be helping nobody. So
I
it's
know.
just so much better to just, figure out what the, right amount, right, what works for you, and just be able to stick to that and keep yourself healthy as well so you can keep doing what both of you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very special.
love that.
Oh.
Perfect. Well, Thanks for squeezing with us.
Oh yeah.
I love that. I can't wait to
Yeah.
watch this back. I say that all the time, but this was so fun. I feel like I learned so much, and I had to actually stop myself multiple times from taking notes while you were talking. That's the bad thing with this laptop in front of me. I'm like, nope. I went to do it like 4 times. I was like, nope. We're not taking notes right now. I was like, I don't want to forget it. But then I'm like, okay, I can watch it back later.
You want that?
I don't want to forget it. So funny.
Oh, gosh.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Can you say thank you?
Yay!
I mean, Lily just moved.
That was such a good episode.
Yeah, it was. I'm just laughing because anytime we have
I
somebody
know.
that
I love to
specializes
learn.
in something.
Sue me.
Sue me.
Sue me. I love to learn. But thank you so much,
She's
Dr.
great.
Sasha, again, for coming on.
Yes.
And honestly, just educating us more about ADHD because I feel like there's so many stigmas around it, and like it's very known, but I almost feel like it's not like actually known, like
Yeah.
ADHD is so thrown around in society, but like we don't really know,
Yeah. No, the
the details of it.
We learned a lot
Yeah.
sitting down and talking with her.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys did too.
Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a comment down below. As always, you can check out, or not check out, you can email us at lautner.thesqueezepodcast@gmail.com for episode ideas, guests, questions, stories. A few of your stories I've been reading recently, and it just warms my heart that you guys are loving what we're doing because we were so passionate about this. But yeah. Thanks for
we
listening.
couldn't do it without you. So
That's
truly,
very, very true.
thank you for listening. Thank you for spending an hour of your day listening to us ramble
on our couches with our dogs as they always lick the microphones.
We're very thankful.
Yeah.
And hope you just have a wonderful rest of your day, wonderful rest of your week. And we will see you next Wednesday.
See you next Wednesday. Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation.